Growing up, I was really close to my dad. He was a very creative and generous and thoughtful of people. I remember each night he would come and tell me a story that he would make up on his own. There was different characters in the story, honk honk and quack quack, sneezy and sniffly, the grimies and the grippies, and they would all go on these adventures. And each night I would always fall asleep before the story ended. My dad was a really big tipper, so whenever we would go to a restaurant, he would ask me, so how much do you think? How much should we give him? He did a pretty good job. And typically whatever I guessed as a small kid, I don't know, 6, 7, he would double it. And he would wink at me and he would say, let's make his day. He was always thinking about those on the fringe. He would have these incredible parties for the janitors that worked in his building. He would love to chat up the people at the grocery store, the checkout clerks at the grocery store. He would always think about those that were the underdogs in the situation. So when I had my second child, I had the opportunity, for whatever reason, in all the chaos of having a baby, I was given about an hour alone with my newborn, and I remember her sleeping on my chest. And this beautiful light was coming in the window, and I was able to pray for her for almost an hour in silence. I was thinking about her life and all the things that I wanted for her. And I remember praying specifically that she would know my dad, that she would be able to interact with him, that she would be able to play motorcycle with him, that she'd be able to hear about the grimies and the grippies, and that she'd be able to see the way that he gives big tips, and he thinks about those on the margins. It reminds me of this story in the Bible that when Jesus is praying in the garden the night before his death, he knows that death is looming. And in his agony, in his prayer, he's crying out to God for the disciples to know him. My Father, you and I are one, but I pray that my friends, my disciples, would know you. And in his heart, I think what he's pleading for is that if they know you, they're going to be different. They're going to walk around this earth mindful of the things that God is mindful for. Jesus wanted them to know that God is a God of mercy and justice and generosity and full of grace, abounding in love. And he just said, Lord, I want them to know you, because if they know you, they will be set apart. And they will navigate this world in a different way, a way that is honoring to you. In the church world, there's a word that we throw around a lot. It's called sanctification. And this word sanctification actually means to be set apart for a greater purpose. So what Jesus is asking for is for them to be made holy, for them to be set apart for a greater purpose. And I don't know about you, but I haven't spent a ton of time reflecting on my own holiness, because holiness feels like, it's this larger than life, bright, shining, otherworldly, sort of untouchable thing. You know, Isaiah described it as walking into the temple and had to turn his back because the light that God was emanating was so bright he couldn't even contain it. Yet Jesus is so all the time talking about holiness, but yet Jesus himself isn't otherworldly and untouchable and so bright. He was ordinary and dusty and sweaty and human. And he invites us to interact with the divine, that we would be set apart and made holy. And in that, in our ordinary lives, we will be made to do extraordinary things. Amen.